why don't you go ahead and kind of explain to people what exactly you do? Because this is something that, like, you reached out to me and we're just talking about, this is something that not everyone might have used before, or a service that someone might not even be aware is available to them.
Mhm. Well, what I am is I'm a doula, which is a professional who specializes in non-medical comfort and support for families when they are in labor and giving birth, and also during the pregnancy and postpartum phase. Some doulas do all-inclusive care, including postpartum care. Some do not do postpartum care, but I do full spectrum from pregnancy to postpartum. And basically what a doula is there for is to make sure that there's always somebody there to make sure that the needs are being met for the person who is in labor and their partner, whoever that may be, and also make sure that they are communicating effectively with their providers and making sure that all their needs are being met and they're having the best experience possible.
Yeah, and that's such a great thing, because I think a lot of people think about, delivering the baby and maybe postpartum in the sense of something that's medical, but there are so many other aspects to that. And it's something that you probably don't really think about until you're in it. But you mentioned to me when you first messaged me that you have noticed that there has been some changes due to COVID-19, as there has with many aspects of life. What are some of those things you've noticed from, people that you would normally see needing your services, or just, people expecting children in general?
Well, on a business standpoint, my work is on the decline right now because of COVID. Most hospitals have a one visitor restriction right now, and that usually tends to be, the partner of the person who's giving birth, which is completely understandable. It makes my job a little difficult. But I do offer digital services, which is a way to kind of work around that a little bit. I can't be there in person, but I can be there through chat, Zoom, Messenger, and things like that to make sure that they're talking and they get those measures that they need from the person that's there to support them.
Yeah.
Um, Things that I have noticed that have been concerns that are raised not only from people locally, but also from things you read on the internet, from mom support groups and things like that. One of the biggest concerns is families who have children at home already. If they don't have, if their partner comes and attends the birth with them, some of the hospitals are not allowing that person to leave and return. So that person can be stuck there and not able to go back home to their family. And if they don't have that support person there with them in labor, then they might be alone.
Yeah.
And that would be terrible. I mean, you can bring, a relative or a doula or somebody else with you, but not having that support from your partner or somebody that you're familiar with could be really devastating to the experience. And it's a really big challenge that, having somebody that you trust at home to care for your children while you're going through this other new life-altering experience of adding somebody else to the family.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that you consider your business to be a little bit on a decline. What would be the normal amount of people that you might be working with at one particular time?
Usually about two clients a month in different aspects. I rent birth pools and do birth support and postpartum support, so I kind of get a mix of all that stuff. So I'm usually consistently busy, but it's been very difficult these last few months.
Yeah. Have you heard from any women locally, or just seen an uptick in maybe women who are considering doing, you mentioned the birth pools, at home births, because the hospitals are, turning into these epicenters where people are really sick. Have you noticed more interest in that? And what are your thoughts on that?
I think home birth is a option for healthy pregnancies and people who understand what home birth is. Going to have a home birth when you don't understand the way that it works and how midwifery care works can kind of throw you into something that's different that you're not quite prepared for, which you don't want to have an unsatisfying experience either way. You want to make sure that you're supported in a way that you need wherever that may be. I know several midwives have had a huge influx in interest in calls, And hospital birth is not for everybody, but home birth is also not for everybody. And people need to be giving birth in the places where they're going to feel safe, empowered, and supported.
Absolutely. And another question that I had for you, a lot of your job is probably offering, just emotional support aside from anything medical or physical, just offering that emotional support. And it seems like there are a lot of people who need that right now, especially, moms and new moms. And so what is some of your advice for people that would normally be a client for you, but maybe are not able to use your services but still are in that phase of life? What would you say to people who are trying to bring new life into this world in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, what I would say is to, if you're getting ready to give birth and you have a lot of uncertainties going into this and you don't have that continuous support, you want to make sure that your partner is going to be an effective support person for you, whoever that may be, who's going to be there with you. Do some research about things that might happen when you are in labor and when you're giving birth, risks and benefits of different interventions, and ways for measures that would help you feel relaxed no matter what way you choose to give birth. Evidence-based birth is a really good resource for families to be able to get that kind of information, which I feel information is a key to relaxation when you are in an experience like that where you feel like you might be out of control. Having that knowledge gives you something to hold on to and gives you that sense of security. Other than that, doing what you can to stay relaxed throughout the pregnancy and the early postpartum phase with whatever means that you can. Um, Trying to get outside if you can, staying active, doctor approved light activity like yoga or stretching and things like that, just to make sure that you're staying in a good mind throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
Also take advantage of like online pickup deliveries and grocery store pickups, especially if you have a baby, because that's going to help reduce the risk of the spread of the infection, and it's also easier for the family as well.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you really thought was important to bring up? I know there's probably a million different topics that we could, within the umbrella of pregnancy, postpartum, and new moms, but was there something particular that I didn't ask about that you really wanted to get out there?
No, I want to give a hero shout out to labor and delivery nurses, especially during this time too, because they have these big changes that are going on, and nurses do a great job of caring for people when they are going through this experience. Um, Unfortunately, with that, with the job of nursing, you have the gap of support because a nurse can't be by your side throughout the whole process. They do a great job when they're there, and then they have to move on to the next person and make sure that they're doing okay. So you have those gaps a little bit, which is where I would typically fill in as a doula. I'd be there the whole time to make sure that your needs are being met, that you're doing the things that you need to do to make labor progress in as good of a way as possible. And so that gap is there, but the nurses are still just amazing and they're doing a great job.
Yeah, if anyone is looking to use a doula right now or is able to, use your services, whether it's, virtually or once maybe they just found out they're pregnant and maybe hopefully this will all be over by the time that they need you, how can they find you and get in contact with you?
All right. Oh, well, I have a website. My business name is Crowning Achievement Birth Services, and it is crowningachievement.weebly.com. And if you just do a search engine thing for Crowning Achievement Birth Services, I'm the first thing to pop up.